I am like so thrilled to be standing here. I can't believe we did it. So as Tony said, I was so inspired when I sat in the front row at Clementine Hall and Pope Francis called on us to do more teaching research, advocacy and service on behalf of migrants and refugees. That experience changed me and really prompted me to start working on this project. And now Pope Leo is again asking us to become missionary disciples working to reconcile a wounded world. At Villanova, we're responding through the Mother Cabrini Institute on Immigration, which I can't believe I get to say that. And we're grateful because with the committee, with that institute, we've worked with the steering committee to bring together this project. And a lot of them are in the room, so please thank them. And we've also been working with a group of working group facilitators who are helping to really make this conference something about action and forward-thinking momentum. I'm also really grateful to my team of organizers, Angela and Paola, who you've gotten tons of emails from, and I hope they're here in the room and they can hear the applause. And also Lamachi Communications for Good Causes. I knew that I couldn't make this happen without them. And also, we're working in partnership with all these amazing organizations, leaders in the field in this work, the Center for Migration Studies, the Dicastery on the Promotion of Integral Human Development, the Dicastery on Culture and Education, the Federation of International Catholic Universities, the Augustinian Foundation, the Jubilee, Jesuit Refugee Services, MIT's Systems Awareness Lab, the Cabrini International Migration Institute, USCCB, Migrant and Refugee Services, and UNHCR. So thanks to all of you for believing in this idea and coming along on the road with us. And we've also gotten tremendous support from our sponsors, many of whom are in the room as well. So this is more than a conference. It's a project that hopefully will keep us engaged over the next few years. As we start this long-term initiative, Migrants and Refugees in Our Common Home represents a vision to mobilize a worldwide community of academics, administrators, community partners, and students and refugees to action for migrants and refugees. I can't express enough gratitude to all of you for believing in this vision, because the kind of systems change that needs to happen is not something that any one of us can accomplish alone. Rather, it comes about only through community, through collaborating, through pooling our resources and energies, and thinking differently. This project calls us to test the boundaries of our imagination, to think big and to think bold. We know that change happens in places of discomfort and desperation, right? Like, that's the story of migration in so many ways. So we're at a unique moment in time. Everything that we've been is falling apart. Institutions are breaking, gatekeepers are going away. And so we're living in a time of many new beginnings, and it's our job to envision what our new world looks like, and then to create it. So what do we dare to hope for? Seeing all of you here brings me hope that change is possible during this Jubilee of hope. And so while much of what we see in the world instill a deep sense of hopelessness and despair, we're here together building hope. Hope as an orientation, a way of seeing and moving through the world. I first heard about this kind of hope from Krista Tippett. In late May, I was driving in my car alone to pick up my daughter at school, and I was listening to On Being. I'm a big fan of Krista Tippett, and this particular episode, touched me. It's a perfect articulation of what's moving inside me during these despairing times, and what we're looking to build together through the Our Common Home project. So I tried to get Krista to come, but it was too late on her schedule. So I'm bringing her to you through her podcast.
Talking about hope as an orientation, really, more than a virtue, a way of seeing and moving through the world. And it is a choice in the face of profound, reasonable despair. It is a calling. It is a practice, a muscle. And like any muscle, it can be flexed and strengthened. That kind of hope attends to reality in all its complexity, and it makes a leap of imagination that has real-world consequences. Here's one way to define this kind of hope. It looks the world full on, it looks reality in the face, and it refuses to accept that things have to be this way. And then this orientation of hope throws one's intelligence, one's energy, one's persistence, one's creativity and courage behind that insistence. It's one of these elemental truths that we have to remind ourselves of, sometimes name, in order to see that nothing new has ever entered this world without someone or someones who first imagined a possibility others couldn't yet see or believe in, and then brought realities into being that most of us can later not imagine the world without. Again, this is a truth that has small manifestations and vast manifestations, individual and communal. And this is a young century in which we have a world to remake, all of our disciplines, all of our communities. And it is in this context that I see a revitalized, chosen, practiced, applied hope, individual and communal, as urgent and necessary towards that possibility of a different world.
Perfect, right? That's the message to start this project off with. That's the kind of hope that we're fostering here, a hope that attends to reality in all its complexity and makes a leap of imagination that has real-world consequences. We're here to imagine things that have not yet manifested and then to make them happen. That's the muscle we're building, and we're building it together. So you can imagine how excited I was when I heard this. I actually pulled over on the side of the highway and called Lana Cook. We'd been planning this conference, and I just needed to talk to her about it because it spoke so much to what we're doing together. And so we're really fortunate to be collaborating with Dr. Lana Cook from the MIT Systems Awareness Lab. As you'll see, the MIT Systems Awareness Lab has developed all these tools that help us to think about the kind of systemic change that we need to make today. Because migration is interconnected in so many broken systems. We can't just look at migration, the decision to migrate, as a singular act. We need to appreciate and understand the systems that influence migration. And so I am like so deeply, deeply grateful to be able to work with her on this. She's taught me so much. And next she gets to teach you.
Thank you, thank you. It's an honor to be with you all today. One of the ways that I orient to hope is actually through a practice that we both practice and study at the Systems Awareness Lab called creative tension. And so we're going to do a little work with that today. So the idea is simple, and I'm going to move this because I like to be outside the podium. It can be represented elegantly with a simple rubber band. So first, there's our understanding of current reality, how things are at the present moment, and all that led us to this moment. And then there's our vision of what we would like to imagine is possible, right? Our aspiration. And there's always this gap between the two, a space between current reality and vision. And we might experience this space with a lot of emotional tension, right? We feel it with all this fraught kind of drama, maybe some resentment about why our current reality is not what we aspire it to be. And you may have experienced yourself some places where this gap has felt so stretched, it felt that you might snap. But for the rubber band, it experiences just as a structural tension, right? MIT were engineers, so this is just a structural tension. We fill it with emotional tension, all right? And so this rubber band is not caught up in all of that emotional drama. And the idea here is, one, to see it as structural. There will always be a gap between current reality and vision. And in this, we can see, perhaps, is there an invitation to see this as a creative force? A way that we might energize ourselves to steadily, faithfully improve current reality towards our vision. Because the other option is we lower the vision. And you might feel some deflation even as I lower. And so the practice here is, how do we hold both? How do we name current reality as it is and get clear about what we aspire to be, what we aspire collectively, our vision for the world, the vision for humanity, our vision for future? And how do we experience this space between as that energizing force? And so to make this a bit more real to you, I invite you to join me in a little contemplative practice. And so I invite you just to kind of allow yourself to settle. Right? We've been hearing different speakers just settling into your chair. You might even close your eyes for a moment, letting your eyes rest, or find some neutral space on the floor to rest your gaze. No need to attend to me. And I invite you just to take a couple deep breaths. And just with each breath, allowing yourself to rest and relax into this present moment, this here, this now. I invite you to sense into what is your current reality as it relates to migration. And simply notice any images, sensations, emotions that may arise. No need to solve or fix. Just simply accepting things as they stand now. Simply notice as you continue to breathe what this current reality looks like, feels like. Now I invite you to take another deep breath and release that current reality for a moment, and continuing staying inward, Just simply breathing, noticing your feet on the floor, your body resting in the chair. And now I invite you to imagine your vision. What is your aspiration for migration? If anything were possible, what would this future be like? As you continue to breathe, just letting yourself experience whatever images, sensations, emotions come to you. And now I invite you to hold that vision and bring up current reality, maybe like a split screen or like that rubber band. See if you can hold both your vision and your current reality side by side. Simply notice and sense how you relate to that. And see if you can invite in a sense of creative or generative energy to the space between. So with some final deep breaths, I invite you to release this practice, gradually coming back into our space together, and just sensing into kind of your inner landscape, sending some gratitude to yourself for connecting with your reality and your vision in this way. So, we're going to have a moment to check in, because maybe what evoked here hopefully resonates or helps you connect to the place that you're coming and you're arriving to in this conference. And so we're going to do a little practice that we call a check-in, which is a practice of, mutual deep listening and sharing with an open heart. And so it shares in the Catholic tradition of synodality, a walking together. So what does it mean to really listen? So in this process, you're going to turn to your neighbor, and the first person will speak, and the other will simply listen. And then it'll be the next person's turn to speak, not necessarily responding to what the first said, just sharing from their own space. And so only after both have spoken, then engaging in the cross dialogue. And that kind of practice just slows us down from listening just to, what's the clever thing I'm going to say to what they said, but really just listening, attending, and then sharing from our own space. So I invite you to turn to your neighbor, and you'll have about 4 minutes, about 2 minutes each. What is your current reality? What is your vision? Enjoy your check-ins. It's always hard to pause such vibrant, conversation, but I do hope you had an opportunity to check in, and that you continue to have these opportunities to check in, but we practice this throughout our time together at the conference. So as you may have touched on in your dialogues, this tension is inevitable with any change. And so how we practice hope is practicing it amidst this complexity, right? It's not being naive about current reality. And it doesn't mean we lose the vision. It's holding both. And so to really sustain meaningful change, we need to really think and act systemically, as Michele talked about. Because otherwise, we're always stuck reacting to the surface level events. So this is where another tool we practice with, the systems iceberg, comes in, and a tool many of you have been engaging with leading up to this conference. So the visible events are just the tip. Underneath are all the patterns of behavior, our habitual ways of responding, acting, and intervening in the system that drive those events over time. What shapes those habitual patterns of behavior are the underlying structures, the artifacts, the technologies, policies, laws, often visible resources, space, place, Take, for example, the artifact of visa denials that permitted many of our global colleagues from joining us even here today. And deeper still, the mental models, our values and worldviews that shape it all. It is only by working in these deeper waters, the level of the mental models and the artifacts, that we can have meaningful, sustainable, systemic change, reshaping the habits of behavior that lead to new events over time. So we hope this model inspires you to think systemically throughout this gathering and in the learning and co-design over these days. You'll see a version of the iceberg in the lobby, and we invite you to sticky note it with your insights, or scan the QR code to add to the collective iceberg that you all have been building virtually leading up to the conference over these months. So please, go explore those waters. So, to create lasting change, we must be working in those deeper waters, which also means opening ourselves up to that creative tension, naming reality, holding vision, and practicing hope. To you, Michele.
So we've been working on this list of what we think our key messages are. What are we trying to do as a community? And I offer this to you as a work in progress and ask you to help us to refine it over the next few days. We are global academic response to displacement. We're coming at this from a moral and practical imperative. We're collaborating toward strategic action using the models of the systemic systems change, and hopefully working toward big, bold ideas. That's what's needed in this time. We know that things are broken, and we really need to think big and bold. We're inspired by Pope Leo's call to shared responsibility and the need to work together to listen deeply. This notion of synodality is really crucial. Compassionate systems change, thinking about those mental models and those structures, and how do we start to change things from that perspective? Thinking about academic institutions as change agents. We do research, we study the past, we work on the future. We're out there on the ground teaching students who are going to be the next leaders. We have such an opportunity as academic institutions to be the agents of change, and that's the mindset that we want to really build in this room. It's inclusive, collaborative, and growing. And we're also coming at this from a perspective that we're going to iterate. We're going to come up with ideas, try them out, see if they work, reflect on them, and change them over time. Because when we're thinking about big, bold ideas, we might not have the answer right from the start. We also want to recognize the current reality in which we're living today, and just so many people who are displaced and fearful, afraid, living with stress and trauma, and even recognize how the current reality has impacted our system. Right? There are so many people who we invited to be in the room and couldn't be here. Some of them, thankfully, are joining us virtually, but the system, the visa process, has prevented us from being able to even join together in community to be working on this important work. And I feel like it's really important for us to name that and realize that current reality, but also recognize that this is an opportunity for grounded hope. And Krista Tippett, I think, said it so well, and that's really where we're coming from, that we are in a moment where we can be hopeful together and collaborate towards change. So again, this is a work in progress. You'll see this list up on a poster. Please take a Post-it, add, refine. Together, we're going to figure out what our key messages are. And I just want to end with a special thank you to the Augustinians for allowing us to use this amazing space when I first came here last year to plan. So I think Tony mentioned how I've felt that this project has been inevitable. It's so meant to be. We are meant to be here together at this moment in time, working collaboratively on this. And when I first came last November to this building to talk with and meet with the Augustinians to talk about this conference, I came in, I was with Melanie, and we were walking over here, and we're like, okay, we have to convince them that we can use the space for the 3 days leading up to the Jubilee. What better time to do this than right before the Jubilee of Hope for migrants? So we get here, and the Augustinians walked in and said, Michele, we have really bad news. The only time you can use the Augustinianum is October 1st to the 3rd. That's when I knew that this was inevitable, right? And it's been like that ever since. I called Juan from La Machi that day, and I said, okay, we have a day. We have a date. Make sure this is on your schedule. I'm in Rome. I just met with the Augustinians. And he said, you're in Rome. I'm coming to Rome tomorrow. And so the next day, he showed up here, and we started planning. And it's just been like that ever since. Things are just moving and falling into place. So my hope for you is that you all have those kinds of transformative moments where you feel that sense of inevitability. And that you leave with energy, drive, mission, and direction to take positive action toward a hopeful future. As this project grows, every one of you is going to be an ambassador to bring more people in from your communities, from your schools. And so I'm really excited about that, and I just can't wait to get started. Yay!